Cyclone MMA. Yo, what's going on, everybody? My name's Mason from Cyclone MMA, and welcome back to another video. With the conclusion of UFC 313 in the fight that took place between Alex Pereira and MacLeod, this tells us one thing about the UFC. Well, it tells us a few things about the UFC. But one of the big storylines after this fight involves two individuals who didn't even fight on Saturday. Jon Jones versus Tom Aspinall. That fight needs to happen, and it needs to happen right now. There is no fight in the sport more important than this fight, and we're going to talk about it. So I talked about this a little bit in my conclusion video of UFC 313, but Alex Pereira losing the title was unfortunate if you're in the Jon Jones camp or if you're Dana White even. I mean, that is the next fight happening at light heavyweight. They're going to run that back. It's going to be MacLeod versus Alex Pereira 2. I would put a lot of money on that being the case. Now, for Jon Jones, I feel like he was low-key using Alex Pereira as a bargaining chip. I feel like he was, he wanted to fight Pereira instead of Tom Aspinall. It's a bigger name. It's an easier fight for Jon Jones. Honestly, if that fight took place, I see Jon Jones getting the win quite quickly, kind of like the way he did against Cyril Gane in that fight. Just kind of a guy who doesn't have a crazy wrestling base. I think he'd be able to take him down and submit him. But that's no longer on the table because MacLeod took that title, and guys, it's time. It's time for this fight to happen. Tom Aspinall versus Jon Jones needs to happen. We missed out on the Francis Ngannou-Jon Jones fight. Francis wanted Jon, and Jon was like, no, I'm retired, blah, blah, blah. And then Jon put on weight, and then I don't know if he said he was retired, but he at least said he was taking time off the sport. Jon puts on weight as soon as Francis Ngannou dips out of the sport, and Jon Jones goes, I want Francis, and that wasn't possible at that time. Now you got Tom Aspinall. He's in the prime of his career, and he won a interim belt in 2023, and he defended the interim belt in 2024, and he is without a fight in 2025. And, Jon Jones is a legend. Obviously, he's the greatest fighter of all time. It's tough for me to say that because, he's a cheater. He's not a great guy. He's had so many issues in and outside of the cage. But, the record speaks for itself. The legends he has on his resume. People keep talking about Aspinall and his rise in heavyweight and how he hasn't really lost outside of the injury he suffered to Curtis Blades, which he later beat Curtis Blades by knockout in the first round. But, Aspinall's finishing everyone in the first or second round. He hasn't been to the third round in the UFC, and he's just a smart fighter, and in a division where it's not the strongest right now, he really stands out above everybody quite a bit. But Jon Jones, absolutely the man. Shogun Rua, Ryan Bader, Lyoto Machida, Rampage Jackson, Rashad Evans, Vitor Belfort, Chael Sonnen, Alexander Gustafsson, Glover Teixeira, Daniel Cormier twice. The names on his resume and the amount of eras of fighters he beat 3 classes of fighters. But the last 4, you had Cyril Gane, no wrestling whatsoever. The Dominic Reyes fight, a bit controversial. A lot of people had him losing that. I actually had him winning. Super, super close fight, though. You would have liked to see that run back. Thiago Santos fought him basically on no legs. Went to a split decision. That was a close one. Think about where Thiago Santos is right now in the light heavyweight division. He's not even in the picture. I know he beat up a 40,000-year-old Stipe Miocic, but, if you want to be the champion, you got to fight the best. You got to fight the clear number 1 contender, and you have to fight the interim champion. Just defending interim belts is silly to me, and the fact that Tom Aspinall's had to do that is nuts. And honestly, in terms of taking care of business at heavyweight, Tom Aspinall's been the guy. He beat Volkov, he beat Tybura, he beat Pavlovich, he beat Curtis Blades, he beat the big boys in that division. The only one who's of note really not on his resume is, well, the champion Jon Jones and Jailton Almeida, who still needs a few wins to get to that picture. Man, that would be a rough champion. I'm gonna make a video about that after, how like we have like Bilal Muhammad and Marab and Ankalaev just won, and it's like the average fan's worst nightmare in terms of who will become champions. It's like if Jailton Almeida and like Mozart Ivloev become champions, it's like, whoa, we're getting to a scary era of the UFC. But yeah, guys, Tom Aspinall versus Jon Jones. I mean, I'm not going to like preview that fight a whole bunch. I'm not going to say, do I think that Jon Jones is ducking Tom Aspinall? A little bit. A little bit. I don't think he's afraid to fight him. I think Jon Jones is a competitor. I think he's an athlete who looks at anyone on the planet. I think he probably looks at the gorillas at the zoo and he's like, I could beat that guy in a fight. I don't think he's afraid of Tom Aspinall, but I do think he's smart in the sense that he can mitigate risk. And I think he's looking for that money, and I'm hoping he gets it because, A, he deserves it. His resume is absolutely nuts, and he's done a lot for the UFC. He's been like the biggest star for years outside of the McGregors and Rouseys of the world, you know? Like, he's been consistent. I mean, he's been outside of the cage a lot over the last however many years he's been in the promotion, but he's definitely brought in a big bag for the UFC, and I know this fight would be absolutely massive. And who knows, maybe Jon Jones could even get it done. If Jon Jones adds the Tom Aspinall notch on his belt and then retires, like, the other people in the GOAT conversation just don't really have a case. I mean, GSP is the guy who has a case because, you know, the only guys he lost to, he ended up beating. Matt Hughes and Matt Serra, he fought them, he lost, and then he beat them. He beat Matt Hughes twice, actually. He's also a double champion. But, like, with Jones, I just read off the names on his resume. Like, he's got a better resume. He's done it in more spectacular fashion. He's a double champion now. And if he can beat Tom Aspinall, the new boogeyman in heavyweight. I think if betting lines came out right now between Jon Jones and Tom Aspinall, I think Tom Aspinall is like a minus 200 favorite. I'm going to see if I can find any betting lines on that right now. But it's just like, okay, let's see here. I actually got it pulled up if it'll load. Let's see. All right, it's a bit of a pick'em. Tom Aspinall is the favorite. It's a minus 128. Jon Jones is a plus 107. But Jon Jones is an underdog. When was the last time Jon Jones was an underdog in a fight? Has Jon Jones been an underdog in a fight? I don't know the answer to that. I know he wasn't against Stipe. I don't think he was against Cyril Gane. I don't know, guys. It needs to happen for the sport, dude. For the sport. For all things to be lovely and good in the MMA world, we need this fight. Coffee break. I'm a little bit messed up, guys. I'll be honest. I tried going to bed yesterday, and it was daylight savings, and I stayed up late the night before, and I didn't get to sleep until 7:30 a.m. That's crazy. That's like when you should be waking up. That has nothing to do with Tom Aspinall and Jon Jones, but I just want to keep talking to you guys because I haven't done this in a bit, and I miss you guys. How are you doing? How's the fam? All right, we're going to end this video now. Goodbye.